is designated as Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, effective 16 December 2024, by command of General Browner Jr., signed Jimmy Dicalit Larida, Lieutenant General, Philippine Navy Marines, the Deputy Chief of Staff. Official, Bernardo Arportes Jr., Brigadier General, Philippine Army, the Adjutant General.
Thank you, sir. May we request Lieutenant General Stephen P. Parreño, Philippine Air Force, the outgoing Commanding General, to submit his tour of duty report to our guest of honor, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., and subsequently read and sign his relinquishment order.
I have the honor to present to the Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Philippines and President of the Republic of the Philippines, my tour of duty report. Armed Forces of the Philippines, Headquarters, Philippine Air Force, Office of the Commanding General, Colonel Jesus Villamor Air Base, Pasay City. Office Orders number 2024-10, dated 19 December 2024. Relinquishment of position. Pursuant to Section 1, General Orders number 2148, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, dated 18 December 2024, I hereby relinquish the position of Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, effective this date, and I sign in your presence. Command Sergeant Major, lower down my personal flag.
The outgoing Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, has just given his last order to the Air Force Sergeant Major to lower, furl, and present his personal flag.
General Cordura, sir, I am ready to be released.
May we request the incoming Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Arthur M. Cordura, Philippine Air Force, to read and sign his assumption order.
Headquarters, Philippine Air Force, Office of the Commanding General, Colonel Jesus Villamor Air Base, Pasay City. Office Orders number 2024-11, dated 19 December 2024. Assumption of position. Pursuant to Section 2, General Orders number 2148, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, dated 18 December 2024. I hereby assume the position of Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, effective this date, and I sign in your presence.
We shall now witness the handover of command symbol to be presided by His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
The handover of command symbol signifies that Lieutenant General Parreño has now relinquished his duties and responsibilities as the Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force and has now been turned over to Lieutenant General Arthur M. Cordura, Philippine Air Force.
Congratulations to the newly appointed Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Arthur M. Cordura, Philippine Air Force.
At this point, the newly appointed Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Arthur M. Cordura, PAF, will now give his first order to the Assistant Air Force Sergeant Major and subsequently deliver his assumption speech.
Command Sergeant Major, please raise my standard.
One of the first orders of the newly appointed Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, upon assumption of command, is the raising of his personal flag.
Sir? His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., the President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, sir. The Secretary Gilbert Teodoro Jr., the Secretary of Department of National Defense. To the outgoing Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Stephen Parreño and his lady, Mrs. Agnes Parreño. To the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Romeo S. Browner Jr. Sir. To the government officials under the Office of the President, the Chief of the Philippine National Police and Major Service Commanders and their ladies, former Commanding Generals of the Philippine Air Force and their ladies, guests from the Malacanang Palace and the Department of National Defense, guests from the General Quarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, members of the Foreign Armed Forces Attaché Corps, members of the Philippine Air Force, officers and enlisted personnel, and Ladies Central Club, men and women of the Philippine Air Force, my wife, Paula, and children, Paulo, Caitlin, Nanay Fe, and Atene. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The Philippine Air Force, as a major service, has undeniably demonstrated a high sense of professionalism in all facets of organizational undertakings. The AFP core values of honor, service, and patriotism are vividly characteristic of what the Philippine Air Force embodies today. It would be accurate to posit that leadership is central to the Philippine Air Force's successful pursuit of organizational development. So as the euphoria of my designation gradually wanes, the reality immediately sinks in on the enormous responsibility bestowed to the Commanding General, Philippine Air Force. And this I duly recognize. I remain confident, nevertheless, that my experience at the major service, general headquarters, and department level prepared me to confront this challenge, especially in handling issues with tactical, operational, and strategic implications to national security. Today, the Philippine Air Force is on the precipice of achieving something great. Opportunities simply present itself with the government leadership who shares the urgency of the AFP modernization program and the dire need to be territorial defense ready. Nonetheless, we all fairly understand that this is the time we need to only not capitalize on the opportunities that our bureaucracy presents, but more importantly, for the Philippine Air Force to consciously seek to create opportunities for its development as well. Hence, moving forward, I see no need to totally reinvent. Instead, thinker on the possibility to enculturate a developmental strategy characterized by simplicity, but robust in content and arguably sustainable, inclusive in scope, and one that does not depart from the present metrics by which we effectively measure organizational success. In this respect, under my term, I intend to pursue a command trust that focuses on the mission essential task and clearly defines the imperatives for a successful implementation of an integrated air defense system. A command trust captured in the catchphrase, Focus Philippine Air Force. A focus PAP is mission-oriented, capability-driven, and values-based. This is a command trust that is a call for retrospection, a call for action, and a call to become a learning organization. It shall be consistent with the Bagong Pilipinas call for a genuine and inclusive development and transformation strategy, and will support the AFP's comprehensive archipelagic defense concept in the development of the Armed Forces of the Philippines capabilities. A focused Philippine Air Force is an intervention that will follow on current thrust to facilitate Philippine Air Force eventual transition to full TD operations, address the CADC imperatives for force projection and air interdictions, assimilate technologies that enable us to operate effectively across all domains, particularly cyber, and finally, empower human resource to prepare them for the present and future tasks. In this respect, let me emphasize that a focused Philippine Air Force call for retrospection centers on the need to revisit the rich history of the Philippine Air Force, embrace its strong organizational culture, as well as influence the growing modernity in our needs. Consistent with this, there is a need to establish a baseline as dictated by the gains of previous command trust, revisit the gaps, and review the recommended measures to correct. This shall be undertaken based on a pragmatic approach and one that adheres to the accepted standards set forth by GHQ and the Department of National Defense. A focused PAP call for action shall demonstrate the inner workings of a mission-oriented organization, one that underpins the focus on fulfilling the Philippine Air Force mandate. Philippine Air Force shall do so focusing on what is mission essential and what promotes interoperability, jointness, and excellence in combined operations. This underscores the need to rethink how the non-mission essentials should be regulated to allow uninterrupted and optimum human and material support in the development of the Philippine Air Force war-fighting capabilities, ensure compliance with the National Military Strategy, the Defense Planning Guidance of 2024, the General Security of Military Information Agreement, and adherence to the Philippine Air Force Flight Plan 2040. Our action shall also be capability-driven. Capability-driven organizations look at all dimensions that makes it responsive, reliable, and effective. As a result, our capability should constitute the ability to synchronize air power and pursue the completion of a near-to-ideal integrated air defense system, capability to operate safely and effectively, and capability of our project management teams to identify, procure, and sustain platforms following the DSOM framework with consideration of the new legal issuances. In relation, Philippine Air Force should relentlessly pursue to seek the golden hour across multi-domain operations, optimizing the advantages of air power. Take action on matters requiring remedies on force structure, human resource, logistics, infrastructures, and those that require policy interventions. Let us do so by aspiring what is ideal in terms of accuracy, speed, and foresight. In all our actions, values will be the constant in our equation for success. Organization who recognizes the importance of values and place a premium practice in its place are better positioned to allow good governance to thrive, transparency to flourish, and morality to be observed. Hence, values should characterize the very persona and character of the common PAP soldier. I likewise advocate that the Focus Philippine Air Force is a call to become a learning organization. This is where people continuously learn and enhance their capabilities to create and perform beyond expectations. A learning organization is an important characteristic of a resilient organization. It is anchored on transformational leadership at all tiers of the government and all tiers of the organization. Learning organization invest heavily on the quality of human resource. It perpetuates the conduct of best practices as well as strongly influence the passion to seek new ones. So as we all reflect on this, I enjoin the men and women of the Philippine Air Force to find your niche in the strategy. Seek your role in a focused fast track. Own the plan. Challenge the plan and identify the gaps. Then recommend how we can effectively correct them. Finally, more than anything else, this is a day for gratitude. I would like to thank the authorities who made this designation possible. Our President and Commander-in-Chief, the Secretary of National Defense, our Chief of Staff who heads the Board of Generals, the Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, who approves the recommendation of the Philippine Air Force Board of Senior Officers, to the professional soldiers, men and women of Team Philippine Air Force, whose support I will direly seek. To all the people near and dear to me, to my late father, Colonel Gerardo Sr., Philippine Air Force, who exemplifies true resilience and leadership, who together with my mother, Nanay Fe, guided me and my siblings to learn and live a modest, disciplined, values-based, and God-fearing life. To my wife, Paula, and children, Paulo, Caitlin, and CJ, who forever are my inspiration. Let me end by citing Proverbs chapter 16, verse 3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. God is great, God is good. Mabuhay po ang bagong Pilipinas, mabuhay ang sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas, mabuhay ang Philippine Air Force.
Thank you, sir.
We shall now proceed to the retirement ceremony of Lieutenant General Stephen P. Parreño, Philippine Air Force. This ceremony is one of the oldest customs and traditions of the military service, as well as in recognition of his faithful and honorable military career.
At this point, may we request Captain Primo E. Tavares, Philippine Navy General Staff Corps, Acting Assistant the Adjutant General AFP, to read the retirement order of Lieutenant General Parreño.
Republic of the Philippines, Department of National Defense, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City. General Orders Number 1464, published on 24 September 2024. Compulsory retirement. Pursuant to the provisions of Republic Act Number 11709, as amended by Republic Act Number 11939, dated 17 May 2023, in conjunction with Circular Number 15, dated 3 July 2023, Section 17 of Presidential Decree Number 1638, as amended, and in consonance with Presidential Administrative Order Number 150, dated 4 January 1990, Lieutenant General Stephen B. Parreño, Officer DAS 10486, Philippine Air Force, having completed 37 years, 8 months, and 19 days of active military service in the Armed Forces of the Philippines from 1 April 1987 to 19 December 2024, is compulsorily retired in the rank of Lieutenant General effective 20 December 2024, with retirement pay based on the salary grade of General with 5th longevity pay. By order of the Secretary of National Defense, signed Romeo Saturnino Browner Jr., General, Philippine Army, Chief of Staff. Official, Bernardo R. Fortes Jr., Brigadier General, Philippine Army, the Adjutant General.
Thank you, sir.
We shall now witness the presentation of unit standards to Lieutenant General Stephen P. Parreño, Philippine Air Force, retired.
May we request our honoree to please proceed in front for the presentation.
Following are the unit standards to be presented to Lieutenant General Parreño, PAF, retired, where he served as the commander during his military career.
First, may we call on Major General Ramil G. Oloroso, Philippine Air Force Wing Commander, 220th Airlift Wing, to present the unit standard.
Likewise, the Air Mobility Command Unit Standard will also be presented by Major General Ramil G. Oloroso, Philippine Air Force. Major General Oloroso, sir. Thank you, sir.
May we now request the newly appointed Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Arthur M. Cordura, PAF, to present the Philippine Air Force flag. Next to be presented is the personnel standard. Next to be presented is the command memento.
The command memento represents all the ranks, trainings, awards, and decorations that Lieutenant General Parreño has achieved and accomplished during his entire military service.
Thank you, sir. To the newly appointed Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, you may now be seated, sir.
We shall now proceed to the presentation of plaques and Philippine flag to our honoree.
First, may we request General Romeo S. Browner, Jr., Philippine Army, the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, to present the following plaques. First to be presented is the command plaque.
The command plaque is hereby presented to Lieutenant General Stephen P. Parreño, Officer-10486 PAF, in grateful acknowledgement of his eminently meritorious and valuable service rendered as the 39th Commanding General, Philippine Air Force from 20 December 2022 to 19 December 2024.
Next to be presented is the plaque of honorable service.
The plaque of honorable service is presented to Lieutenant General Stephen P. Parreño, Officer-10486 Philippine Air Force, in recognition of his 37 years, 8 months, and 19 days of faithful and honorable service rendered to the Armed Forces of the Philippines from 01 April 1987 to 19 December 2024.
Next to be presented is the Pagpupugay sa Kawal Filipino plaque.
Next to be presented is the plaque of appreciation to Mrs. Agnes P. Parreño. May we request Mrs. Agnes P. Parreño to join Lieutenant General Parreño for the presentation.
The plaque of appreciation is presented to Mrs. Agnes P. Parreño in grateful appreciation of her unselfish, faithful, and devoted support to her husband's lasting contribution and dedicated service to the Armed Forces of the Philippines and to our nation.
Next to be presented is the replica check to Mrs. Agnes P. Parreño. The replica check represents the honoree's earned and accumulated leave balances during his entire military career. Thank you, General Browner and Mrs. Parreño. You may now take your seats.
At this juncture, may we request the guest of honor, the President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Philippines, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., to present the Philippine flag. Thank you, sirs. Please be seated.
We shall now proceed to the incorporation into the Reserve Force of Lieutenant General Stephen P. Parreño, Philippine Air Force retired. May we call on Colonel Rose Mawati A. Remo, PAF MNSA, the Air Force Adjutant, to read the order of incorporation into the Reserve Force of Lieutenant General Parreño, PAF retired.
Armed Forces of the Philippines, Headquarters Philippine Air Force, Colonel Jesus Villamor Air Base, Pasay City. Special Orders Number 516, published on 09 October 2024. Paragraph 1. Lieutenant General Stephen Palomado Parreño, Officer-10486, Philippine Air Force, is incorporated into the Reserve Force, Philippine Air Force, Armed Forces of the Philippines, effective 20 December 2024. He will be assigned a 3rd Air Force Wing Reserve and further be placed in the Standby Reserve with Mobilization Center, a 3rd Air Reserve Center, Fernando Air Base, Lipas City, Batangas, by command of Lieutenant General Parreño, Aristotel D. Gonzalez, Major General, Philippine Air Force, Chief of Air Staff. Official, signed, Rose Mawati A. Remo, Colonel, Philippine Air Force, Master National Security Administration, Air Force Adjutant.
Thank you, ma'am. May we request Lieutenant General Parreño, PAF, retired for his oath of incorporation to the Reserve Force. Likewise, may we request Major General Pablo E. Rustria Jr., Philippine Air Force, Commander, AFRC, to administer the oath. He will be assisted by the Assistant Chief of Air Staff for his Service and Retired Affairs, A9, Colonel Estuesa, MNSA, Philippine Air Force.
Ginoo, maaari pong itaas ang inyong kanang kamay at sumunod po sa akin. Ako sabihin ang inyong pangalan.
Ako si Lieutenant General Stephen P. Parreño, ODAS
Nahinirang-
10486, Philippine Air Force.
Na hinirang at tinalaga sa katungkulan bilang sabihin po ang inyong katungkulan.
Nainirang at itinalaga sa katungkulan bilang miyembro ng Laang Kawal ng Pilipinas sa ilalim ng 3rd Air Force Wing Reserve.
Kahit taimtim na nanunumpa,
Ay taimtim na nanunumpa.
natutuparin ko ng buong husay at katapatan
Natutuparin ko ng buong husay at katapatan.
sa abot ng aking kakayanan,
Sa abot ng aking kakayahan,
ang mga tungkulin ng aking kasalukuyang katungkulan.
ang mga tungkulin ng aking kasalukuyang katungkulan.
At nang iba pa pang pagkaraan nito,
At ng iba pang pagkaraan nito,
ay gagampanan ko sa ilalim ng Republika ng Pilipinas.
ay gagampanan ko sa ilalim ng Republika ng Pilipinas.
Na itataguyod at ipagtatanggol ang konstitusyon ng aking bayan,
Na itataguyod at ipagtatanggol ang konstitusyon ng ating bayan.
na tunay na mananalig at tatalima ako rito.
Na tunay na mananalig at tatalima ako rito.
Na susundin ang mga batas,
Na susundin ang mga batas,
mga kautosang legal,
mga kautosang legal,
at mga tungkuling pinaiiral
at mga tungkuling pinaiiral
na mga sadyang itinakda ng mga kapangyarihan
ng mga sadyang itinakda ng may kapangyarihan
ng Republika ng Pilipinas.
ng Republika ng Pilipinas.
At kusa kong babalikatin ang pananagutang ito
At kusa kong babalikatin ang pananagutang ito
nang walang anumang pasubali o hangaring umiwas.
nang walang anumang pasubali o hangaring umiwas.
Kasihan nawa ako ng Diyos.
Kasihan nawa ako ng Diyos.
Makiba po ang inyong kamay. Congratulations, sirs, and welcome to the Reserve Force.
Major General Rustria will now present the Reservist Military Identification Card to Lieutenant General Parreño, Philippine Air Force, Reserve. Thank you, sirs. You may now be seated.
At this juncture, may we request Lieutenant General Stephen P. Parreño, Philippine Air Force Reserve, to deliver his valedictory speech.
His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Philippines, sir. The Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr., Department of National Defense. General Romeo Browner Jr., Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Lieutenant General Arthur Cordura, newly appointed Commanding General, Philippine Air Force, and his lady, Mrs. Paula Cordura, and members of his family. Government officials under the Office of the President, Chief, Philippine National Police, and major service commanders and their ladies. The former Commanding Generals of the Philippine Air Force and their ladies. Guests from the Malacanang Palace and the Department of National Defense. Guests from the General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Members of the Foreign Armed Forces Attaché Corps, members of the Philippine Air Force Officers and Enlisted Personnel Ladies Central Club, men and women of the Philippine Air Force, my wife, Agnes, and children, Lieutenant Kiev and his lady, Lieutenant Von, Captain Istvan and his wife, Attorney Pau, my daughter, Madrid, and my granddaughter, Isabel. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today marks a pivotal moment, not just for me personally, but for our beloved Philippine Air Force. It is an honor and a bittersweet privilege to stand before you, reflecting on a journey that began when I was entrusted with the immense responsibility of serving as your Commanding General. That moment when the news of this trust was conveyed remains etched in my memory. It was a mixture of pride and humility, knowing the weight of the mission that lay ahead. Guided by the principles of Axel PAF, or to accelerate PAF with excellence, we have journeyed together amidst the challenges, setting new standards of service, achieving breakthroughs in order to become a capable, a credible, and a sustainable force. I am proud of what we have accomplished together, and my gratitude knows no bounds on how we as a united force have surpassed numerous milestones. Our contribution and support to the comprehensive archipelagic defense concept through air domain awareness and surveillance, force projection and mobility, and maritime security support have indeed strengthened and asserted a rightful claim in the West Philippine Sea. In a span of 2 years, we have achieved much by accelerating our efforts in our focus areas, namely public value, accountability, good governance and safety, and force capability development. In the realm of public value, our efforts in operational excellence have been extraordinary. Through our territorial defense operations, we conducted 450 maritime patrol missions, logging 2,529 flying hours, and monitoring 964 unknown tracks within the Philippine Air Defense Identification Zone. Our internal security operations supported law enforcement agencies, local government units, and unified commands, neutralizing threats and saving countless lives. These were carried out through 786 focused military operations with a total of 35,226 flying hours. Moreover, humanitarian assistance and disaster response missions carried over 1.4 million pounds of cargo to those in need and conducted a total of 200 aeromedical missions. These were critical during the PAF's unyielding support during the El Niño season, the chain of typhoons that struck the country in recent months, and the eruptions of Taal and Canlaon volcanoes. All of these achievements translated to a consistent recognition in public service satisfaction with a trust and approval rating which increased significantly from 54% and 65% respectively for calendar year 2023 to an even higher trust and approval rating for calendar year 2024 of 73% and 75% respectively, as reported by Okta Research. These milestones underscore our undeniable public value for our stakeholders, our partners, and the Filipino people as a whole. Under accountability, good governance, and safety, we made sure that we abided with all policies that hold us accountable and prioritized the obligation of funds to maximize resources. The PAF was recognized with the second Amigo Award by the Office of the Solicitor General, highlighting its adherence to justice. Moreover, the PAF received an unmodified opinion from COA for the fairness of the presentation of its consolidated financial statements, while a positive audit observation memorandum for 2 years was also noted by COA for the PAF's effective and efficient use of program appropriation. In the same vein, the PAF garnered a 99.36% rating during the annual general inspection of the Office of the Inspector General, Armed Forces of the Philippines, hailing it as the highest in terms of operational efficiency and readiness. Furthermore, the conferment of the Prime HRM Bronze Award to the Philippine Air Force by the Civil Service Commission recognized our commitment to excellence in human resource management, making us the first unit in the AFP to be conferred such an honor. In furthering good governance, we focused on our digital agenda, developing systems that digitalize 10 key processes such as record management, annual planning and budget validation, health and welfare, and other financial processes. This contributed to greater efficiency in performing and keeping track of operational functions. This, in turn, contributed to the 94.28% client satisfaction rating from the Anti-Red Tape Authority. On long-term sustainability, we have successfully established the performance-based logistics system with the contracting of the full in-service support for the C295 and the FA-50PH aircraft, ensuring their continuous and timely maintenance. Also, initiatives like the development of the Interoperability Safety Guide Handbook and Maintenance Audit Manual to include the promulgation of 42 manuals and creation of circulars, directives, and standard operating procedures reflect our collective drive for transparency and safety of personnel and assets alike, paving the way for the development of a common maintenance culture Air Force-wide. In force and capability development, we have remained relevant and responsive through our force restructuring efforts, upgrading our units and personal strength to ensure readiness. We expanded our capabilities with the arrival of vital assets such as 10 S-70I Black Hawk helicopters, the additional 2 T-129 attack helicopters, 1 C-295 aircraft, 1 C-130, the advanced fixed and mobile radar systems from Japan, and 1 ground-based air defense system battery, and more are expected to come as they are in the procurement pipelines. The use of these new air assets were supplemented by the rigorous training of our pilots. 197 pilots were sent overseas, accruing 3,556.5 hours of simulator flight time. These prepared our pilots for various scenarios during the conduct of their flight operations. Moreover, 2,527 training programs were conducted centered on territorial defense, while 685 infrastructure projects supported the morale and welfare of our personnel and enhanced our mission effectiveness across the archipelago. More importantly, we have participated a total of 100 international military affairs initiatives, such as bilateral and multilateral meetings, airman-to-airman talks, and combined exercises. Most notable of which was the participation of the Philippine Air Force in the Pitch Black exercises in Darwin, Australia, where we sent for the first time our air assets during this month-long multinational exercise and hailed as the rock stars of this event. In all this achievement, I am but an instrument and a guiding hand. I wouldn't have made it without the people who made it all possible. So to our officers, enlisted personnel, and civilian human resource of the Philippine Air Force, your devotion to duty have been the backbone of our progress. In the past 2 years, you have continually inspired me to embody the very essence of service. To our allies, partners, and stakeholders, and of course, our Commander-in-Chief, our Secretary of National Defense, and our Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, thank you very much, sirs, for your unceasing support and collaboration in advancing our shared goals for peace and security. To my former commanding generals and my former bosses, thank you for mentoring me and serving as my role models. To my mistas from the Philippine Military Academy Sambisi class of 1991 and my classmates from the Philippine Air Force Flying School class of 1993 Alpha, thank you for the camaraderie and fellowship through the years. To my close friends and my brethren, thank you for keeping me grounded and helping me into a better person. To my family, my wife, Agnes, my sons, Istvan and Pau, Kiev and Von, my daughter, Madrid, and my granddaughter, Isabel, you have been the pillar of strength and understanding, my inspiration throughout this demanding journey. My gratitude to you is immeasurable. Your love has kept me grounded and focused, and I cannot wait to spend the remainder of my years in your loving embrace. And finally, I owe all that I am and all that I have to the Almighty. His blessings and guidance have steered me through every challenge, and I offer these accomplishments in humble gratitude for the greater glory of His name. Truth be told, it is still a surreal experience for me, landing my final approach on this long stretch of runway, so to speak. Nonetheless, I live with pride, knowing that we have built upon the foundations of our Philippine Air Force and made it better than when we found it. To our new Commanding General, Lieutenant General Cordura, sir, I wish you all the best. And to the valiant airmen and airwomen of the Philippine Air Force, continue to love the service and rally behind your new pilot in command. Persevere in the face of obstacles and pray for strength and wisdom in all that you do. And persevere in the face of obstacles and pray for strength to our God Almighty. So keep the momentum alive and continue accelerating with excellence our Philippine Air Force. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. And reflecting on the words of 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. May we all remain steadfast and faithful in our service to our nation. Mabuhay ang buong papawid ng Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas. To God be all the glory. This is your 39th King Eagle signing off.
Our heartfelt thank you, sir. Happy retirement and good luck on your new journey.
At this point, may we request Honorable Gilberto C. Chodoro Jr., Secretary of National Defense, to introduce our guests of honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos, Jr.
Thank you, our National Defense Secretary, Secretary Gilbert Chidoro. Please take your seats. The Special Assistant to the President, Secretary Anton Lagdameo, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Romeo Browner, and the Major Service Commanders, Philippine National Police Chief General Romel Marbil, Immediate Past Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Stephen Parreño, the newly installed Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Arthur Cordura, the officers and the enlisted personnel of the Philippine Air Force, my fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, we stand together to honor a leader who has served our nation with unparalleled distinction. Lieutenant General Stephen Parreño, as Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force, has led this institution to soar to new heights over the past 2 years. His steadfast commitment to the command has thrust Accelerate PAF with excellence, has inspired every airman to embrace the ideals of competence, professionalism, and responsiveness, the values that have guided your every endeavor. The legacy of your leadership is etched in the achievements of the Philippine Air Force under your watch. By logging over 2,500 flying hours dedicated to external defense and conducting 450 maritime patrol missions, you have strengthened our nation's territorial integrity and protected our exclusive economic zone. These are not just records. They represent vigilance, determination, and an unwavering resolve to safeguard our airspace. In these efforts, our skilled pilots have remained resolute, intercepting threats, monitoring unidentified tracks that encroach upon our airspace. Your courage is matched by their expertise, owned through bilateral, multilateral exercises like Cook Thunder, Balikatan, as well as the deployment of strategic assets to the Pitch Black exercise in Australia. These initiatives have enhanced our interoperability with foreign partners and reinforced the credibility of our Air Force on the international stage. In addressing multifaceted threats, your leadership has been instrumental. The Air Force carried out nearly 120 intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions, efforts that directly supported our law enforcement operations. Moreover, 320 trafficked individuals were rescued from exploitation, millions of pesos worth of illegal goods were confiscated, and it demonstrated a relentless pursuit of justice and of security. The Air Force has also been a stalwart partner of this administration in times of crisis, embodying the highest ideals of the service. Through over 324 humanitarian assistance and disaster response missions, our airmen transported 1.4 million pounds of essential supplies, conducting as well 200 aeromedical operations, saving many, many lives. Complementing these efforts, you have also spearheaded over 8,400 civil military operations, advancing in environmental sustainability and public health, reaffirming its role as a vital pillar of national development. Your tenure, Lieutenant General Parreño, likewise marks significant strides in capability enhancement for our Air Force. The acquisition of one C-295 medium-lift aircraft, 2 T-129 attack helicopters, 1 mobile radar, 1 fixed radar, and 10 S-70I Black Hawk helicopters, among other critical equipment, has increased our readiness to confront evolving challenges. These accomplishments are a testament to your vision, diligence, and unyielding commitment to the mission at hand. After 37 years of dedicated service to our nation, you pass on a legacy that embodies excellence and inspires the next generation of leaders to build upon the foundations that you have laid. As we bid farewell to Lieutenant General Parreño's distinguished tenure, we now warmly congratulate the newly appointed Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General Arthur Cordura. The road ahead is not without its challenges, but I am confident that you will rise to meet those challenges. With your steadfast leadership, you can guide the Air Force towards becoming an institution that is more agile, credible, and responsive to the demands of an ever-evolving security landscape. To the men and women of the Philippine Air Force, your service is a source of immense pride for our country. Under this new leadership, you may continue to reach even greater heights, embodying the principles of honor, duty, excellence. These times call for vigilance and for resolve. There is no room for complacency, for any pause in our efforts to risk compromising the safety and welfare of the Filipino people. We must ensure that the continued modernization of our armed forces remains a priority, empowering us to protect the ideals that define our nation. Let us move forward as one, shaping a bagong Pilipinas where the Philippine Air Force remains a beacon of strength, a protector of the values that we hold dear, and the symbol of hope for our people. Mabuhay ang hukbong himpapawid ng Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas. Maraming salamat at magandang araw sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine Air Force hymn.
That ends our ceremony for this morning. May we request our guest of honor, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., for a photo opportunity. Other guests, please be seated.
The sequence of the photo session will be the principals on stage. Outgoing Commanding General Philippine Air Force with his family to join the President for a photo session. May we now request the newly appointed Commanding General Philippine Air Force with his family for a photo opportunity with the President. Thank you, sirs, ma'am. Please exit to your right. Thank you very much, sirs and ma'ams, and thank you for joining us in this very significant occasion. Muli,
Magandang umaga po at mabuhay tayong lahat.